Very good. Uh, okay, we are ready to begin. Thank you very much for joining me tonight on Olim Toolbox Talks. I'm Sid Slifko, and there's a lot to unpack tonight. So I'm going to rush through very quickly to fill up our 28 minutes, and hopefully we'll have a little bit more time at the end to ask questions. I honestly don't know. This is a very touchy topic for me, and something that I've been talking about in all kinds of settings outside of here as well as in here, and trying to preach sometimes to the converted, but also to preach to those who don't really understand what Aliyah is and what Aliyah means, not only for people coming here and living here, but people coming here and coming with a background from their hometown. So that's what we're going to cover today. And if there's going to be one specific core message that I'd like to get across tonight, it's very simple. Number one, that Aliyah doesn't mean running away from where you were born or where you grew up. Aliyah means gaining new tools and new perspectives and strength to help others face the life that they live here as well as in the diaspora. It's becoming part of a global community. And the second message, which I think is also, if not as significant, but very much we should be aware, is that when we speak about anti-Semitism, anti-Semitism is not something that occurs in New York or Toronto or Sydney or any isolated places. Anti-Semitism is a global Jewish challenge, meaning that it's something that happens to people here in Israel, even when it happens to people abroad. And when you come to Israel, you can't really leave behind anti-Semitism from where you grew up. You take it with you, and there is a responsibility to respond to it regardless of where you are. And tonight, in this session, what I want to do is look at the way to respond to it effectively. It's the 8th day of Hanukkah, and I've divided it up into 8 parts, not intentionally, and we're going to go through all these 8 parts. So the first part, as I just said, anti-Semitism is a global Jewish challenge, but it's not a new phenomenon. The only thing that has changed recently, and even that is going back to an old phenomenon, is that anti-Semitism nowadays, after many years, has become overt. It's also become normalized. And sadly, it's become more socially acceptable, even in circles where they never considered themselves as purveyors of Jew hatred. Places like New York or Toronto, which was on some level the golden mean, the archetype or the paradigm for an open city where Jews could live freely and express themselves freely and be who they were. This is no longer the case. And somewhere down the road, I believe sometime in January, we're actually going to be hearing from one of the rabbis of a major congregation in Toronto, where he speaks about the growth of anti-Semitism within that city itself. And it's very sad to see it happen and becoming so overt and so real. So as I said, when we make Aliyah, we should never think of ourselves as escaping what anti-Semitism is. We should think of ourselves as trying to come up with a solution, with a response to deal with it on a global level, using the tools that we pick up here in Israel and figuring out how we can implement those tools more effectively to create what I consider to be the golden mean, which is a global Jewish community where there is mutual support, where we can learn from people in the diaspora communities can learn from us as well. Why do Olim matter? And here I think it's very important because we tend to think of fighting anti-Semitism, fighting Jew hatred, as being the province of official spokespeople or people with a great deal of track record. I'm talking about people like Elon Levy, who was representing Israel all over the media at the beginning of the war in Gaza in 2023. I'm thinking of people like Fleur Hassan Nahum, who has been doing a phenomenal job in presenting Israel in a good light, and all over social media and all over regular media as well. And these are just two examples of what I call the VIPs, the celebrities, people like Noah Tishby, who's done, again, a phenomenal job. But the truth of the matter is, it's not just the VIPs and the personalities who are presenting and promoting Israel. It's the people like us. I don't consider myself a celebrity in any way, shape, or form, and my family will definitely back me up on that. But Olim themselves are really uniquely qualified as credible spokespeople to fight anti-Semitism, to fight anti-Israel sentiment, and to really speak about what it's like, because number one, the rank and file Ole, the plain, simple Ole, like myself, we live the reality that people argue about. Our children fight in the war. We belong to a group of parents. We share stories. We are intimately involved in the life of Israel on a daily basis. And we also have the experience of dealing with anti-Semitism and Jewish hatred in the places where we grew up. So we are the bridge between life here and life abroad. So we have that understanding that I don't think many people have if they are not Olim, because we can not only communicate what it's like to live here, but we also can communicate what it was like to live in the diaspora. So we understand the connection on a very visceral level, which most people who are not Olim don't understand. I'm not denigrating people who are aware of what goes on in Israel, but let's face it, when we read things in the news or see things on TV, we are still several stages and several degrees of separation from the actual experience. So being here and being there gives us the ability to bridge the two cultures and the two societies. So I think it helps us understand much better, which means that we can influence much stronger than many other people can. We can put up a WhatsApp message sharing our personal experience. Some of us who are not so caught up in the visceral or emotional experience can give calm explanations as to what we're feeling, as to what's going on. And we can share daily life from both vantage points, which other people don't. My goal, ultimately, is to talk about how we can help each other, because both the Jews of the diaspora and the Jews of Israel each bring strong abilities that they can use to bolster one another. This is not a one-way street. This is a two-way relationship between the diaspora and the Israeli communities. The Jews in the diaspora, from the point of view of Israel, especially in light of the tsunamis of anti-Semitism, they're desperately in need of moral support. They also need accurate information, the same way that we need accurate information here. The recent murder, for example, at MIT of a professor, my first reaction when I heard it was, what's the Jewish connection? There, as far as I know, there was no Jewish connection, but we're always looking for something here that may or may not necessarily be true. So we need accurate information. Both communities and both sides of the pond need accurate information in order to deal with the issue. We both need emotional validation. Very, very critical. The Jewish community in Teaneck, when it has a fair for selling property in Israel and gets attacked by anti-Israel groups, and then it spills out into anti-Jewish sentiment, they need the motion validation that we can give them from here in one form or another. And both sides, I think, both diaspora Jewish communities and Israel Jewish communities, need to understand that whatever we are experiencing in our mutual trials, regardless of which side of the pond we live, we have to have the sense that we are not alone. And probably the most important thing that Olim can do for Jews who live in the diaspora is to let them understand that they are not alone. And Olim in particular can do that much more effectively, I think, than Israelis who were native born, because we speak the language, and I think we can give an extra amount of emotional support that others can't. And by the same token, Olim, who have left the comfort of their diaspora communities, what they can do is they can provide honest feedback, and they can get honest feedback from their family and friends who live in the diaspora. And I think that's also very critical, because we sometimes need to put a check on ourselves. We need to know that what we are doing is right. We sometimes forget. We sometimes miss out. We need to be constantly in communication with each other, because ultimately we share a common destiny. I'm not speaking in a messianic sense, and I'm certainly not speaking in terms of trying to get everybody to move to Israel, but we are a community. And if we are a community, whether or not we see each other on a daily basis, we are still in touch with each other, and we still support each other, and we still need to promote one another in a way which is both interactive as well as enabling. We have to help them in the diaspora grow, and they have to help the communities in Israel by being good advocates. So this is something that, to me, is probably the most important thing that an OLEC can do, to recognize, as I said at the beginning, we are not running away from our lives in the diaspora. We are discovering new tools and new ways in which we can support the Jews in the diaspora and support our communities that we left, but we still maintain a connection. So what are the practical ways that Olim can take action? I mean, what can an OLE do if they are here for the Jewish community that they left behind? So I've broken this down into several stages, or several things that we can do. Number one, Olim can be a calm and credible voice to the diaspora community. We don't have to argue every single point. We get a lot of posts. I see a lot of posts, and I don't necessarily respond to every single post. Other people do. But by the same token, there are those that I feel that we need to respond. And I also have to say, for example, there are so many different posts that are completely exaggerated about things that happen in Israel, issues about the disenfranchising of Palestinians or other issues. I believe my wife shared with me that somebody posted today or yesterday it was that the Christmas holiday is being completely messed up for Palestinians because of what's going on, and they're having a terrible Christmas. And my wife actually has been doing research for an article she was writing, and she pointed out that that's not the case. There is an increased sense of holiday spirit that we didn't have last year in the midst of the war. And apparently, I can't say we're bouncing back, but certainly it's a lot better than the picture that's being painted by people who are detractors. And we need to be aware of that. We need to take a look and we have to respond to charges such as this, as I said, with a calm and credible voice. But we have to be careful because if we do it too much, then it goes over from Hasbara, from Israel explaining what's going on here, to strident and not necessarily effective response. We need to correct misinformation, but we need to do it gently. We need to do things like, here's how it looks from Israel, or I live this reality. You're writing without understanding what this reality is. Let me tell you how I see it. That's something that Olim can do in their voice, and as I said before, as a bridge between the diaspora and Israel. You are more persuasive when you are not defensive, and I think that Olim have the added advantage of being persuasive without necessarily being defensive, because I think many of us really know what's going on and can articulate it. The other thing that Olim can do is to strengthen American institutions or institutions in the diaspora. If you belong to a synagogue, then you can continue to communicate with the synagogue, things that are going on that you might find relevant to them. If you attended a Jewish school, you can certainly post things in the alumni, as an alumnus of the Jewish school. If you have contacts on college campuses, you can certainly do a low level or some kind of level of hasbara so that students feel a little bit more emboldened and a little bit less insecure about their Jewish identity and their affiliation to Israel and to Judaism per se. I, for example, write a weekly column in the Bergen County Jewish News on these very topics of tips for Olim and life in Israel. And I find it gets a lot of play. And I feel that that's my way of giving a contribution to an understanding of what life is like here, but also to give support to the Jews in Bergen County who read my article, who understand what's going on. There are also other tools and other avenues by which the Olim here can communicate and support and give a sense of, I don't want to use the word ennobling, but at least a sense of comfort and a feeling that they are not so alone through social media. There are several WhatsApp groups to which I belong that are populated by Jewish communities abroad, and I share stuff with them from my life here so that they know what's going on from my perspective. I am not a rabid Zionist or a radical explainer, but I do find that this goes a long way by using my calm voice and my non-defensive voice so that they understand that life here does go on and we can be in communication and help them change their perspective and feel a little bit better about their affiliations. We can also record occasionally messages. Facebook is a wonderful tool to put things up in various communities. We also have connections because this is such a small country. We have connections with various people who live in Israel, who could be good influencers. We can connect people from the diaspora to people in Israel to help each other in various areas. I have connected many, many people in my community in America to people who are here, people who are givers, people who are donors, people who are social activists. I think it's an important tool that we have. And again, because we are Olim and because we are the bridge between life in Israel and life as we lived it and as we still continue to live it abroad, we are the perfect tool for making the connections and building not only social media, but also building social interactions between here and the communities abroad. And I think this is something that we can do. And again, it just enhances the Jewish experience and turns us from local Jewish causes into more global activism. And I think that's a big thing that we can do by being Olim. We have to avoid lecturing. We have to avoid shaming. We certainly shouldn't constantly go around and harp. You have to make aliyah. You have to move here. That's not our job. If people want to move here, fine. If they don't want to move here, fine. But let them not be afraid to be who they are wherever they are. And I think that's the best message that we can give. I have family that lives here. I have family that lives in the States. I don't go around preaching to my family in the States because they've set up their lives and they're very comfortable and they're very proud of what they do. And I'm very proud of them. That's not my goal. My goal is that they should be honest with themselves, that they should be comfortable in their lives, and that they should live the best possible life that they can wherever they are. I think that one of the elements that Olim can do is to model Jewish confidence. Anti-Semitism, Jewish hatred, hatred of Israel, it's based on Jewish security and isolation, Jewish insecurity, I'm sorry, and isolation. It feeds on this feeling of being insecure as being Jewish or being isolated as being Jewish. The worst possible thing you can have is that people don't care about you. Well, Olim can model pride without aggression. Olim can model strength without arrogance. Believe me, the last thing that Ola feels is arrogance, because when we move here, it's probably one of the most difficult tasks. I don't know of any single Ola who is arrogant. Takes time to develop that, if at all. We feel a certain sense of insecurity, but by the same token, we feel very secure in having gone through this process and made the decision to live here. More importantly, we are able to live our lives without apology. And this was something that I personally found occasionally difficult in my life in America. I don't feel like that now. I can travel where I want to, when I want to, how I want to, living the lifestyle I want to. My wife also often mentions that when I travel to the States, I very proudly wear my kippah. I remember growing up how difficult it was for me in some places to do it. I don't feel that anymore because I feel empowered by my Israel experience, and I feel like no matter where I am, I can still wear it, and I can still feel proud to be a Jew because that's who I am. And being an Ola makes me feel that way, and I think it's a message we can convey to our communities abroad in the diaspora. Resources that Olim can use and share. Number one, There are Jewish federations, community councils. We can communicate with them. Believe it or not, and I've had this experience personally, they're very open to listening to you, to getting information, to hearing from you. All you have to do is know whom to write, and that's not hard to do. And don't necessarily go to the top, go to the bottom, but you can get in there. Um, Israel advocacy organizations are always looking for people uh, like us, not necessarily the VIP people, but they're looking for plain people. They're looking for ordinary people who live the life of both diaspora Jewry as well as Israeli Jewry. We are a welcome addition to their arsenal of people who explain about Jewish living, both Israel and abroad. There are many groups that uh, that that speak to campus organizations. There used to be a group called Mothers Against Campus Antisemitism. I think now it's been called Parents Against Campus Antisemitism. I've been in touch with them. I've sent them information. They are very open, and they help Jewish college students to stand up for their own Jewish identity. Good people to get in touch with. Um, there are so many media outlets that we can use. As I mentioned, I'm already writing something for the New Jersey Jewish Link, and I also post I also post things in other Jewish media, and they're always eager to get material from anybody who lives here because number one, the stories are interesting, and every Ole has a story, but also because this is something that they want to do in terms of promoting Israel, promoting Jewish identity. This is what they like. Um, Almost coming down to the end. What we need to do, and I will close with this, is that we need to understand that this is something that we cannot ignore. This is a task that we all have to take on ourselves because, very simple, we have a shared future. We succeed together. If we try to do this on our own, it's not going to work. Anti-Semitism thrives on what I call Jewish fragmentation. The strength that we develop individually is the strength that we develop from coming together and joining together. If I have to use the metaphor, I'll use the metaphor of the Chanukiah, the Hanukkah menorah. 8 individual candles, not very powerful. 8 candles together in a Chanukiah, very, very powerful light that can be seen from a long distance. This is what we have to think about. We are individual candles, but if we join together as one group, then we are, in fact, a Hanukkah menorah. And as I mentioned last week, an Israeli humorist said, the miracle of Hanukkah is not that you had oil that burned for 8 days, even though it was supposed to be enough only for 1 day. The miracle of Hanukkah is that you had enough oil for just 1 day, but the light lasted for 2,000 years. That's a big miracle. So with that, I'm just going to let you know that I actually have a handout that I'm going to pass on to you. It's a handout which I call Olim to Allies, which explains a little bit of what we spoke about tonight and gives you insight into how you can do it. And if you're interested in doing more to help Jewish communities in the diaspora, but also to help ourselves, I'm also going to send you my email address. You can write me and I will send you more information. We can certainly talk about this even more. And with that, I can wish you all a wonderful new year, a happy Hanukkah. Tomorrow's the last day of Hanukkah. And I thank you all for joining me this evening, this afternoon, if you're coming from Kansas. And I look forward to seeing you in person at some point in time in the future, hopefully on this side of the pond. But if I'm ever in your neighborhood, I'll certainly look you up. Have a good night. Bye-bye.